0.1%. 1 in 1,000. In iRacing, that means only one thing. You're among the very best sim racers on the planet. Today is day one of my climb to join them. There will be wins, losses, drama, and everything in between, week after week. Welcome to the first episode of 0.1, a weekly series documenting my climb from rookie to the top 0.1% of drivers on iRacing. I'm Tim, founder of Trackmonstr, a California-based maker of artisanal, professional-grade racing simulators. I know racing, I know sim racing, but I've never raced for anything beyond fun, research, and testing. Until now. 0.1 isn't just a racing diary, it's a blueprint you can follow. Every week, I'll throw myself into a brand new event, taking you through practice, qualifying, and multiple races, breaking down what works, what fails, and showing exactly what it takes to reach the very top. So buckle up, head down, and let's go. First up, Tsukuba, Japan. And this is the Mazda MX5 Cup, the car that's introduced millions to the pure art of wheel-to-wheel combat. iRacing hits the reset button every week. New circuits, new weather, new challenges. I only have one day for prep, one day for racing and filming. To make the most of the time, I'm gonna follow a Grand Prix format. 3 90-minute practice sessions, then qualifying and a race. FP1, I learn the layout, find my rhythm, practice pit stops. FP2, qualifying runs on cold tires. FP3, race stints, starting tire wear, average pace, engineering overtakes and defense. I'm about to set my best practice lap, 102.740 with no slipstream. That's top 5 in the top split qualifying. My theoretical best is 102.488, so there is room for further improvement. However, as a rookie, I'll probably race in the lower splits anyways. This time, over-preparing is not necessary. Real learning starts as the lights go out. Today, the goal is simple: qualify the best I can, complete all races, collect 0 incident points, and gain as much I rating as I possibly can. Winning? It's a bonus. The priority is survival. And as you're about to see, the MX5 Cup is nothing but a disaster zone.
We knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
And practice paid off. Everything I just saw is now playing out in my rearview mirror. I took pole in my first qualifying, so the plan is simple. Take off, cover the inside line at turn 1, pull a gap to break the toe and keep the pack off my tail. Introducing Daniel Jordan here, rolling off from P9. In the middle of the chaos, he parts the field like Moses at the Red Sea, or maybe Jesus himself walking on water. He climbs all the way to P4, just behind the top tree. Like I said, disaster zone. I'll circle back to Daniel later, because the main characters of this race would be Kyle in the number 12 and Davin in the bright yellow number 2. Now Davin started P3 and just snatched P2 from Kyle with a move so aggressive it probably should have come with a warning label. Honestly, I don't like overlays and prefer to keep my screen clean and uncluttered, so I have no idea what kind of driver these two are. The relative you see at the bottom of the screen was added in editing, just for comfort and awareness. Anyhow, I'm pushing like hell, but as I exit the hairpin, I glance at the relative. Almost 1.5 seconds and we're yet to complete lap 1. That's the gap I need, and suddenly, this race feels like it's mine to control, which is exactly what I'm trying to do by giving slipstream to Kyle, hoping he hangs in there and keeps Davin at bay for as long as humanly possible. Kyle was a few tenths faster in qualifying, so by the numbers he should be the bigger threat compared to David. But David might have underqualified or just be as good at defense as Fernando Alonso. At this point it's too early to tell how the battle behind me will play out. That means I need to keep a strong pace to make sure whoever comes out on top can't close the gap or challenge me for the race win. I'm no longer pushing 100%. I'm driving a bit under the limit to preserve the tires for wherever chaos comes next. Even with clean air and better pace than Kyle and David, the nerves are real. I run a company that builds pro-grade simulators, and I'm racing on the Trackmonstr Pro X with the Sigma Integrale motion system, a Simucube 2 Pro wheelbase and Heusinkveld ultimate pedals. In other words, it's me against me. I am my worst enemy. No excuses, no mistakes, because if I've been it with all this gear, I might as well open a mental health clinic. And as you just saw, I got greedy into the hairpin, went a little too hot and had to lift on exit just to avoid collecting an accident point by sliding off that outside curb. That last corner and I are not on speaking terms either, especially in slipstream. And Tsukuba, don't let the size fool you. Yeah, just over 2 kilometers, but this track will chew you up. Take turn 1. 1,000 ways to do it right, 10,000 ways to do it wrong. That corner alone can make or break your lap. And the worst part, it's completely counterintuitive. Half the time I feel like I've nailed it, then I check the delta and realize I just lost 2 tenths and I have no clue how I did that. Another thing that comes into play later in the race is tire wear. I learned in practice that it doesn't really matter if you treat the tires like fine china or drive them like you stole them. By lap 6 they're basically cooked. You're suddenly dropping up to 0.8 seconds a lap unless you adapt quickly. The main issue is understeer in slow and medium speed corners, which by the way makes most of the circuit here at Tsukuba. So what I tried was braking just a touch later and carving a sharper line to trick the car into rotating. And it worked. Kept me within about 2 or 3 tenths of my pace on fresh tire. Well anyway, I have 4 seconds on Kyle and David behind me as I start lap 4. They're still duking it out back there, so let's check in on their never-ending story. At this point I'm feeling pretty safe, unless they somehow discover a half a second per lap over my pace to catch me by the end of the race. Here come the guys finishing lap 4. Kyle looks like a clean, fair driver with solid pace. He's been taking it easy in the opening laps, but now, probably seeing the gap to me skyrocketing to 7 seconds, he's losing patience with David. Now David, on the other hand, is clearly defending, and from what I've seen so far, he's doing it fairly. Committing early to the inside line into turn 1, while most other rookie drivers would brake diagonally, risk a crash and take themselves and you out. That's exactly what happened to me in one of the races later that day. It looks like Kyle has at least 3 or 4 tenths on David, but he's not willing to take the position back at any cost. He wants a clean pass, no damage, no safety rating loss. I highly respect that. David, however, he has the edge in decisiveness and pure aggression. He's defending like his life depends on it, giving Kyle nothing on a silver platter. He might be a little slower, but he more than makes up for it with commitment. I'm now approaching the first back marker, Ricardo Acosta, one of the guys involved in that lap 1 mayhem. In a rookie race, anything can happen, so I decide to dial it down a bit and chill behind him for now. Kyle and David have no time to chill, but Kyle is now in prime position to reclaim his dearly loved P2. He dives out the inside into turn 1, normal enough to run David wide on the exit, but he doesn't quite make it. His line mid-corner is clumsy, understeer bites him, and he's light on the throttle. David's back ahead with a simple switchback. Cut and dry. But you can tell, David is driving with his eyes in the mirrors. He takes a defensive line into the first hairpin even though nobody can pass from 0.3 seconds back. His real weakness though is turns 6 and 7. Too aggressive, too clumsy, always running wide out of turn 7, which kills speed into the next hairpin. If it were me, I would shadow him through 6 and 7, poke into turn 8 to compromise his exit onto the back straight and get alongside out of last corner, aiming for the inside line at turn 1. I kid you not, I was recording this voiceover before seeing this moment, so it's pretty cool to watch Kyle doing exactly that. Now that they're fully alongside, it's all about who blinks first into the last corner. If Kyle nails it, David can kiss P2 goodbye. But not today. It's incredible to see people reveal their true selves in the heat of the moment. David seemed like a hard but fair driver, but now we all know he's a bad dog. He pit maneuvered Kyle straight into the wall to keep P2, which earns him a prime spot in our blacklist. Not gonna lie, I wasn't sad seeing Kyle drop out of my relative, but after watching his entire race, I really feel for him. Kyle, if you ever see this, you are a perfect example of a rookie who can be clean, fast, and fair. And this is me again, racing toward the checker flag as a winner in my very first iRacing event. In the moment it felt brutal, much harder than it actually was. A reminder that I was too hard on myself and that the mental game is just as important as the wheel. Keep emotions in check, carry no expectations. They only make it harder than it needs to be. And yet this is exactly the result I wanted. P1 in qualifying by over a second, a race win, and 0 incident points. And here's Daniel Jordan. Remember how I promised I would circle back to him later? Daniel was significantly slower than us in the leading pack. Yet he ran a clean, safe race with no mistakes and secured a top 3 finish. It's a perfect reminder that you don't have to be the fastest in the grid to land a good result. You've got to be consistent, safe, and be in the window of opportunity to benefit from any mistakes made by those ahead of you. And this is Kyle Tate after crossing the line, pitted for repairs, rejoined, and eventually finished P8. That says a lot about him. Committed, dedicated, out there fighting. And me? I followed that up with 3 consecutive wins, 1 P2 finish in Split 2, earned my D-Class license, and then got taken out in 2 races. Up next, my final race of the weekend. This race is going to be much more intense. I start from P4 after completely bottling my qualifying. Shane in P3 immediately covers the inside line into turn 1, exactly what I would do. I take a heavy tap from Mark in P5, but somehow make it out of turn 1 in one piece. Gabriel in the blue number 6 was overly cautious at the start, letting Shane slip by. I got Mark hot on my tail. I line up the inside for the first hairpin, just to remind him he has absolutely no business dive bombing me, especially this early in the race. At this point, my main concern is just completing the lap in my current position. Remember, I got crashed out on lap 1 in 2 previous races the night before. The leader has a moment coming out of turn 7, forcing Shane and Gabriel to lift, and me along with them. I'm blocked, stuck on the outside. Not ideal heading into the next hairpin. Gabriel takes a semi-defensive line, leaving me no choice but to brake fully off camber. Understeer. My exit onto the back straight is massively compromised, and now Mark is half a car ahead and completely alongside me. However, I'm in the slipstream from the train ahead, and by the time we reach the last corner, I should be full alongside Mark. Then it's a game of who blinks first, and it won't be me. Yep, it wasn't me. But now I'm fighting understeer and have to downshift to rotate the car. The goal is to clear Mark and cover the inside line into turn 1 to keep my position. That I managed perfectly, getting fully ahead of Mark just before the braking zone. He bumps into me again, now twice in one corner. The guys are really pissing me off, so I go on the radio and drop him a suggestion.
Use your brake, Mark.
Yeah, but what if he's cutting in front of me, buddy? I don't know what you want me to do.
Okay, Mark's playing the victim here, so let's rewind and break down what happened just moments before. I outbrake him into the last corner, trying to hold the slip from Gabriel. Remember, I don't use overlays, so my eyes are on the relative. I covered the inside line as soon as I see him about a tenth ahead of Mark. Yes, I cut across, but I stopped moving at the moment I hit the brakes. It is not moving under braking. Long story short, Mark has nobody to blame but his own precious self. He proves it by bumping into me twice, on purpose, and then doing it again at the next left-hander. There he goes. So anyways, it's on lap 2, barely into the race, and I already know I can't trust Mark to use common sense. He's a real threat now, but I'm not afraid of losing my position. I'm genuinely scared of getting crashed out for the 3rd time in a row. And now the target switches to Gabriel. I have to clear him fast, stay glued to the leader, and crucially, keep myself out of Mark's danger zone. I'm not going for Gabriel yet, just shutting the door on Mark, just in case. But he actually had a terrible sector too, and now I have 0.7 seconds over him, so he's no longer an immediate trap, plus Ali is keeping him real busy from P6. That means I can finally stay on the racing line and put full pressure on Gabriel. He's basically got 1 lap to decide, go for Shane in P2 or lose the pack defending from me. Passing at Tsukuba is more challenging than defending, so this lap I'm just gonna pressure Gabriel, showing in his mirrors every now and then. I need at least 1 clean lap to drop Mark before I risk a move, because any attempt is going to cost me 2 or 3 tenths. The gap drops to a couple tenths and Gabriel already feels the heat around the corner. Before I even attack, he goes defensive into turn 3, and I'm starting to feel this duel won't last long. Now he misses the apex by a mile. I'm in his head now, trying to put a tiny bit more pressure on his nerves. I fake a dive inside the hairpin, just enough to ruin his exit onto the back straight. By the way, this is a race in split 3 out of 40, and right now the leading pack is actually slower than I was in my very first race, back in the much slower SOF split 20. And I'm talking about the entire top 5 with me included. That's because I didn't do a proper warm-up before the race. I jumped in straight off a phone call with a single qualifying lap in just 30 minutes in the morning to recover some iRating and SR after 2 rough races the night before. The good news, the leader is still close, within striking distance, as long as I get past Gabriel and Shane in time. The flip side, we're also so close, we're massively slowing each other down. And now Mark is back in the mix. Being a second behind me was perfect for slipstream, with no need to lift or brake early. Result, he's the only driver to break into 102s. This is lap 4, tires are in their perfect operating window, but that won't last for more than 2-3 laps. Now is the time to make a move on Gabriel. I really want to catch him off guard, so I throw a dummy, dive hard on the inside, either pass him or at least ruin his exit onto the straight. It might have looked great, but it didn't quite work. I even lost an out thanks to Mark, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Now it's all in. Every corner, every lap, until it's done. The problem is, I'm a slow cooker, and I shouldn't have jumped straight into a race with no warm-up. And if you didn't notice, I've been overdriving my poor little Mazda this whole time, and I didn't even realize it until I watched the replay. Now comes the moment of the race. Gabriel tries to outbrake me, lifts off the brakes too early, and he's out. I'm still just as pissed at Mark as I was earlier, so I'm trying to kill him by holding the racing line right to the last moment, keep him in the dark. But he ain't no blind man when it counts. Yeah, real clumsy. Let's take another look at how it went down. To be honest, I wasn't happy to seize Gabriel's position without a fight. It's not necessarily about wanting to scrap for it. What matters is the cost. I just lost a full second to Shane and Thiago ahead, missed their slipstream, and now have Mark right on my tail again. This freebie came at too high a price, and subtly, my chances at the win, or at least P2, are slipping away. But whatever, it makes no sense to dwell on the past. Still half a race to go, I'm in clean air, no longer paced at Mark. I just tried to kill him, so we're pretty much square in my head. Shane is flirting with dropping out of Thiago's slipstream, which means it's on me to start delivering at least 0.3-0.4 seconds a lap over his pace if I really want to chase him down and bring a proper fight for P2. But I'm still overdriving the car without even realizing it. In my head, I felt like I was pushing flat out, but the relative said otherwise. I never managed to break into 102s, which wasn't even a challenge in my final practice session. Watching the replay for the first time, it was obvious. I was braking way too late for the last corner and then turn 1. And here at Tsukuba, those are the 2 corners that we really don't want to ruin. They steal the most time when done wrong. You can tell. Shane is thinking along the same lines. He's gotta stay in the diet, so he's running at 100%. If you check the relative, these aren't fresh rookies. They've got B and C licenses, and Gabriel was actually a Class A driver. However, I still feel like I'm the faster driver, as long as I stay consistent, which of course, I completely failed to do. So far my lap was okay. I gained about 0.2 seconds to Shane, but just watch me ruining the last hairpin. Forced to lift a lot just to stay on track without picking up incident points. Yeah, this lap definitely won't be the one. The good news, Mark seems to have settled behind me. The gap is now 0.7 seconds, and Ali is closing in on him. It honestly hurts to watch myself bottle the last corner. Lap after lap, I come in hot, brake too late, lose a ton of mid-corner speed and get on the throttle way too late. All while the fix was simple. Brake early, take a wider line, sacrifice the entry to favor mid-corner and exit. You live, you learn. On iRacing, it all happens fast. Moments like this give sim racers a real perspective on how brutal and difficult real racing is, how costly even tiny mistakes can be. And this isn't even the top split. I actually really wanted to reach split 1 on my first race weekend on iRacing. And if it weren't for those horrible races where I started from P1 and P2 and still got taken out, I would have made it. Now it's just another dude I almost had you moment. Well anyway, last lap Thiago, Shane and I were running almost identical times, down to the thousands. But this time I'm finally closing on Shane, gaining over 3/10 through sectors 1 and 2 alone. The chase is on, and you can feel the tension building. This race has been intense from the start. I'm not in the perfect position, but honestly, this is the one I have enjoyed the most. Lap 8 now, just a few more to go, and the tire wear is starting to show. I'm still gaining on Shane and Thiago, but not as aggressively as before. From my free practice, I know that our pace will start dropping gradually, about a tenth per lap, give or take. All I need is to stay consistently faster than both guys ahead, and I'll have at least one clean shot at the end. Shane knows it too. Any mistake would cost him track position, so he is as focused as ever. Still, he's struggling in sectors 1 and 2, especially through that first hairpin. And then his line through 8 and 9 is no good either. He's sliding wide lap after lap, losing up to a tenth each time in that spot alone. It's funny how you can spot everyone else's mistakes with the naked eye, yet remain blind to your own. Exactly what's happening to me in this race. Yeah, the tires are real tricky now. Shane is within a second of Thiago, perfectly close, perfectly far, and his pace improved instantly. I'm only gaining 2 tenths, and unless he blunders, I might not reach striking distance on time. Still I push. It's not over until it's over. And my eyes are glued to his bright yellow car, predator locked on prey. Through turn 7, I decide to stay off the curb. Worn tires make it a nightmare, sliding wider and wider each corner. Shane locks himself onto Thiago's rear wheel like a shadow. Thiago may be the slowest of the lead pack, but he's still moving shield, pulling Shane forward. The mistakes are still there. The sloppy lines, the nervous slides, yet they matter less now. The draft drags him down the straight like a hooked fish, gifting him 2, sometimes even 3 tenths for free. His stopwatch turns green, his lap shrinks by another tenth, and with every corner, every straight, the distance between us bleeds away slower and slower. My hunt is stalling, and obviously, I don't help myself with that last corner either. As I said, the more times I see it, the more I criticize myself. Extremely close, incredibly far. As we cross the line for lap 10, I glance at the relative, another disappointment, just a tenth over Shane. And yet somehow I'm still massively enjoying this race. In fact, I'm sure it's far more entertaining to watch than those early runs where I start P1, finish P1, no drama or everything under control. And it also proves a point. Never listen to those who suggest you should skip qualifying and start from pit lane just to avoid drama. The truth is, the dirtiest and most reckless drivers are always the slowest ones, and overtaking them can be more dangerous than fighting at the front with guys like Shane, Thiago or Mark. And speaking of Mark, now that the red mist has cleared, he's aggressive, yes, very, but not reckless, not dirty. None of our contacts ever brought a single incident point to either of us. It was just rubbing, and honestly, that's a fraction of what you see in real-life Mazda Cup racing. I'm certainly not the most aggressive when it comes to wheel-to-wheel fighting. Deep down, I believe that whatever you take by brute force keeps you away from true greatness. And true greatness is when you're so fast, so consistent, so precise that forcing a move becomes irrelevant, because the position simply comes to you. We all have our heroes. For me, it's Michael Schumacher and Ayrton Senna. But when it comes to racecraft, my benchmark has always been Kimi Räikkönen. If you dig deep enough, you'll find criticism of almost every great champion's fighting style. But Kimi? He was always hard, always uncompromising, yet impossibly clean. Fair to the last detail. That balance is what I truly admire. And yet, sim racing carries another dimension, the social one. It's not only about how you drive, but how others see you. I never hit anyone on purpose, but if I'm hit, I will always strike back. And I'll hit twice as hard, not out of malice, but to make sure there is no doubt left, so the other driver loses any desire to try and bully again. I'm not the fastest, not the slowest either, but one thing is certain, I'm no pushover. Anyway, enough of this racing poetry. Last lap, I bottled the hairpin onto the back straight, brake far too late, apex missed by 10,000 light years, handing Shane a couple of tenths in the process. As we cross the line for the final lap, I know the fight for position is done, but backing off, not a chance. Instead, I double down. My new mission: build the cleanest, fastest lap I can on those worn-out tires. Plant a seed. Even if I finish behind, they'll remember that next time might not go their way. Call it psychological warfare. It works on me, and it'll work on them. And as you're about to see, I'm gonna gain half a second in a single lap to Shane and Thiago. And that's why I love sim racing. It's not about positions or points, it's about the fight. Whether you're on a budget rig or inside something as advanced as a Trackmonstr, it's this competition that makes every dollar, every hour, every lap worth it. Because sim racing opens a new dimension, one where you meet your true self, step away from the world's noise, and come back stronger, clearer, and more determined to do well in life. My first iRacing weekend, 5 poles, 4 wins, 3 of them back-to-back, plus a P2 and P3, from rookie to Class D in 90 minutes, with iRating climbing from 1350 to 1770. Next goal, clear the D-Class races, lock in the C license and crack 2000 iRating. Thank you, and see you next week.